Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this latest narration on the web series The Princess and the Human. If you're new to this series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 39, A Curious Visitor.
What's that supposed to mean? Cancelled?
Kage shouted at the screen in front of her.
It means that Her Highness sends her apologies.
The Veneri on the other end of the call answered calmly, but that she will not be able to see you in the following days.
Days? Have your people lost all sense of etiquette? First, the maid you gave me disappears without a trace. And now this. I already was so considerate to grant Her Highness a day of rest to recover. And now you are telling me that the talks are suspended indefinitely. Yet you refuse to give me a reason.
I deeply apologize, Lady Ambassador, the Veneri answered with a bow. But I have told you all the information I myself was given.
How long are you planning to keep me on your planet? If the princess is not available for whatever reason, let me talk to the queen or the king. You can't expect me to sit here idly without even knowing how long I'm supposed to wait.
I'm sorry that you're upset, milady, but as I said, that is all I am able to share with you.
Then give me someone who knows more. If by tomorrow I don't have either an appointment with somebody else, or at least a reason why the talks are suspended, I will claim delay.
I'll impose your concerns, milady. Is there something else I can help you with? Kage ended the call without answering. She then took off her translator, and with it her fake anger. That was no ordinary servant, was it? She asked her handyman. Going by the mannerisms at least. Yes, Quilo affirmed. If memory serves right, that should have been the Star Palace's steward.
I see. Interesting that they refused to tell us what happened.
That attack on the princess would after all be a decent reason to interrupt the negotiations. She stood up and started to pace around the room.
It is a bit annoying that we don't know whether or not she is dead.
If Kylo's last report was to be believed, she should be, Kylo continued her thought. And by the time I placed her corpse in the message, it should have already been too late, even if she was found immediately.
Then we just need to be patient, the Taishri matriarch concluded with a nod, and make sure that not to raise any suspicion.
Were you able to arrange a hospital visit with the prince? While the primary reason for killing the princess was to stop her from uncovering the Taishri's true circumstances, the added benefit was that now her brother was the sole heir to the throne, and since he was still a child, it would be easy to influence him into being more a beneficial ruler. At least more beneficial to the Taishri, and while she didn't know how he had ended up in hospital, it was the perfect excuse to finally talk to him.
Unfortunately, he got transferred to the capital yesterday. Of course, well, try and arrange a visit anyway. It's not like we've got anything else to do until the announcement. It'll probably take them a few days to clear up the disarray, and then we'll know whether the attack succeeded or not.
Very well, he said with a bow. But shouldn't we also make plans for the case that she's somehow still alive, just to be sure?
Kage nodded. You're right. Well, even if she survived, she'll be out for a while. Either they don't let us talk to the queen or king, then I'll claim delay. Or they let us, then I'll claim insult at the first chance. In both cases, we'll get concessions that buy us time until the new trade agreement.
She paused and thought for a moment. While the high priest had bet everything on this agreement, she now knew that there was zero chance of it still happening. But the concessions should give them enough time to come up with a new solution. That wasn't for her to decide, though, but there was something else that she needed to deal with.
However, assuming that she did indeed survive, there would of course still be a problem of the princess snooping around. She wouldn't stop just because she was out for a while. And now that our scapegoat is gone, we can't just try and kill her again. Since we know that she will never plan to form a treaty with us, the best course of action would probably be to cut off contact with the Veneri after that and look for a different target. But we'd need to justify that somehow. We have to find a way to discredit her in front of the Alliance. Luckily, her current behavior should help with that, maybe.
A knock at the door interrupted her train of thought.
Yes?
One of his servants entered. "Milady, there is someone who wishes to speak with you," the smaller male announced.
"Oh, really?"
she asked sarcastically while fetching her translator.
"Do you also have any useful information, like maybe tell me who the someone is?"
It's not a Veneri."
"All right, now we know who it is not. Can you now maybe tell me anything that will justify not firing you once we get back home? Name, species, rank?"
Granted, knowing that his ominous visitor was no Veneri was actually quite a big deal. She wasn't aware of any other ambassadors or Homne, The negotiating with multiple people at once was considered bad manners, and the princess knew that. As such, the fact that another species was invited at the same time certainly was not nothing, but it didn't excuse her servant's incompetence. How did she hire someone who didn't even know how to announce someone? I deeply apologize, my lady, but I don't know their species, and the name was too long. I couldn't memorize it. Huh? After some quick preparations to make herself presentable, Kykla ordered the servant to call her mysterious guest in. She was now getting really curious, because she was certain her servants knew all species in the Alliance, maybe one that the Taishri rarely had contact with. Her first thought was the Karwal, with whom they had zero contact ever since they had stopped exporting metal, meaning the still somewhat young male would have never seen one in his life. Still, she was fairly certain that to qualify to accompany an ambassador, a servant needed to know them regardless. And how bad was his memory to not recall the name just because it was a bit longer? The door opened and someone entered. A someone who very distinctly was not a Krawal. The person was small, notably smaller than even the male Taishtri accompanying her, and only about half the height of a Kykla. They had a frail frame and a pale appearance that lacked any form of scales, shell, or fur, bar the very large patch of silvery hair with a yellowish hue on the top of their head. 2 arms and 2 legs each, similar to her, but unlike the Taishtri, thinner limbs and no tail. The 2 eyes were rather big, and with an intricately patterned blue circle in the middle. Their clothes seemed to be close in style to what the Veneri had copied from the Moravi, supplemented with a pair of gloves and some strange plates that were strapped to her feet with a complex set of straps. There was no denying it. The person in front of her did not belong to any species in the Alliance, and she was very obviously not a Karosha. But there was no known species beside the Karosha who weren't in the Alliance, which could only mean one thing: a new contact. Kykla desperately tried to stay calm. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. She could not afford to screw this up. The unknown alien, despite their short height and strong presence and dignified demeanor, but there was also something else, something that deep down irked some primal instinct in Kykla. But she couldn't really identify the feeling and chose to simply ignore it. The point was, her visitor was likely not just a messenger, but someone of influence, and while she wasn't prepared to host a foreign noble, she would not allow herself to let this chance slip. I apologize for letting you wait. I'm Kykla, representative of the Taishtri. I would greet you in turn, but I hope you can forgive my incompetent servant for not being able to deliver your name. There is nothing to apologize for. I have taken no offense, the incredibly soft voice answered. I am well aware that my name can be confusing to those who are unfamiliar with the naming style of my people. While she had already assumed it, the response made it clear that she was talking to a noble. The speech patterns and the regal aura she was radiating weren't something found among commoners. As such, allow me to introduce myself. I am Nadine Valentina Esmeralda Anastasia von Clout of the House Heidenfeld. It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance, Lady Kykla. On second thought, I may have treated my servant too harshly. As I already said, the alien continued, I completely understand that my name can be confusing to those not used to it. You are free to refer to me as Lady Nadine. Then why even have that long name? Then I shall do exactly that. Allow me to once again welcome you in the name of the Taishtri, Lady Nadine. May the light of the goddess shine upon you. I'm afraid I do not know your people's dietary needs, but if there is still something I can offer you, please speak. That's fine. Some unpurified tap water will suffice. That wasn't the kind of answer Kykla was expected, and judging by this confused look, the same could be said from her servant. With the gesture that essentially said, "What are you waiting for?" she signed to him to follow the unusual request. She then led her guest to a pair of couches where they took seats across from each other. Lady Nadine was so short that once she was fully seated, her feet no longer touched the ground. As she sat, the furniture seemed to make some sound of exhaustion. Great. Was she seriously given faulty products? She could only pray to be spared the embarrassment of having a break under her guest. Shortly after, the servant brought in her drink. Kykla observed her thoroughly. The noblewoman took a sip without any hesitation, and yet her hand seemed to slightly shake when she put the water container on the table in front of her. Was she not immune to the calcium after all? Why order it then? It's a shame that we couldn't meet on a better day, but I'm afraid the downpour won't stop any time soon.
Yes, I was informed about this world's seasons, but I don't mind compared to the rain of my homeworld. This is but a light drizzle.
Was she bragging? If not, Kage didn't want to know what heavy rain looked like on her world, but that at least meant that she wasn't in a sour mood.
To be completely honest, Kage changed the topic. Meeting a newly contacted species is the last thing I expected from this visit. I'm pleasantly surprised, though I must ask, is there a reason why you haven't contacted the Taishtri yet?
None other than time, Lady Nadine assured. We, the species human, contacted the Veneri purely by chance. We by no means plan to favor them over any other members of the Alliance.
Oh, I didn't mean to insinuate that, but I thank you regardless. I then understand that to be the reason for your visit.
Indeed, Lady Nadine affirmed, after taking another sip. Her hand was still shaking. I was meant to meet Her Highness today, but alas, the meeting got cancelled. Even worse, I wasn't given a reason why.
I see. I'm in the same situation, actually, but it's hard to be angry about that, considering it allowed for this meeting to happen. May I ask, are there other representatives of humans at Hanley?
Just me, the alien noblewoman clarified. It is the first time my people met an extraterrestrial life, by the way. It is a truly joyous occasion. In all my 24 cycles, I never experienced anything close. Well, that was perfect. Since the Veneri weren't cutting a dash right now, this was a chance to win the new species over. Even if they later talked with the other species later, the first impression always stuck. If this went well, the Taishtri trouble might be a thing of the past. Just as she finished her train of thought, she realized that Lady Nadine had just emptied her water container. She had already drunk all the water with everything in it. Is there an issue? Crap. She had been staring. Apologies, Lady Nadine. I was simply marveling at how manifold life in the universe can be. Because of this? She asked while tapping the water container. Well, I agree. I too was surprised to hear that the Veneri remove all the precious nutrients from the water. What? Though I guess they aren't exactly nutrients to them, am I right? Something in her tone had changed. Truly a strange whim of evolution for a planet to bring forth a species that can't drink its own water. Sure, not all water on my planet is drinkable either, but this is really something else. I mean, just grabbing the wrong water once and ending up hospitalized, if not worse. Just imagine being locked in your room, laying on the floor, alone, after having poisoned yourself with what was meant to be a harmless drink brought to you by your trusted servant. Wouldn't that be a terrifying thought? Kage felt as if her heart skipped a beat. Yeah, she answered after a way too long a pause. I apologize, my description might have been a bit graphic. Oh, by the way, while you of course brought some of your own servants, wouldn't common courtesy dictate to also give you some? Are the Veneri really that negligent towards the guests? No, I was given one, but she seems to have disappeared. And someone like that gets hired by the palace. The alien noblewoman shook her head. And that kind of carelessness is borderline criminal. I totally agree, but while I am grateful for this visit, I am sure that you still have duties to attend to, which I don't wish to keep you from. Yes, you are right. I hope that we can speak again, though. I'm sure we will. As the visitor left, Kage deflated. With shaking hand, she took off her translator. She knows. I don't know how much, but she knows. With all due respect, milady, Quilo chimed in. I think that sounds a bit paranoid. She slowly turned her head towards the handyman. You're not the one who thinks here. I am. You are the one who gets stuff done when I need you to. She stood up. Yeah, I've lived longer than you ever will. I've been a politician all my life. I know how to pick up verbal cues. You heard how old she is. Well, I don't know how long humans live exactly. A noble with that amount of life experience doesn't say those things by accident. Even the water she asked for. This wasn't a visit to establish relationships. This was a threat. She doesn't want partners. She wants puppets. But even if she had a suspicion, there is nothing that could lead back to us, our plan. You absolute idiot. Proof is only an issue within the Alliance. It means nothing to her. Didn't you hear what she said? She is the only representative of her species on the planet. During the first contact, do you have any idea what that means and how much trust she has amongst her people? She might even be the right hand to the royalty. She doesn't need proof. If she tells them what she thinks of us, that'll kill any chance of a relationship with them. Imagine them joining the Alliance, and we're the only ones not profiting from it. Our people will be done for. Spent, she slumped back into her seat. I understand your point, milady.
However, if she were to die on Homne while being the guest of the Veneri, things would look different, right? Kaikla thought for a while before answering. Would she really order another death? Well, she already had done it once. She did what she had to for her people. All she had to hope was for the goddess to acknowledge that. Let's say I agreed. How would we go about doing this? None of your friends are in the palace. If they were, there wouldn't have been any need to go through all the trouble with the maid in the first place. We don't know her species except for the fact that calcium doesn't kill her. And lastly, how do you plan to make sure it looks like a Veneri did it? If anything leads back to us, our people are doomed. Quilo nodded. Regarding your first concern, that is indeed difficult. I would need to call in almost every favor and threat I can, and then I wouldn't have any friends left on Homne. And I doubt I'll be able to make a usable amount of new ones. She shrugged. Your friends did a great service to us, but we were able to do it without them before. Besides, no matter how this goes, we'll have to cut all ties with the Homne anyway, so nothing lost there. Very well. About your second concern, there are types of poison that can kill any species. No matter how different she is still an organic, and I know a particularly deadly one that has no known antidote, and even better, it is available on this planet. It, of course, can't be bought by anyone, but that's actually part of my plan, and will resolve your third concern. End of chapter.
I'd quickly like to thank the T5 peeps: Cold War Boomerwaffen, Severin Cerberus, Bushmaster 177, HenryTheRed, Casper Arnholtz, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Elijah Silvercross, Dragzoon W.R.E, and Severin Cerberus. Thank you very much.